If your football team had one option in their playbook, the results probably wouldn't be great. The same could be said for your investments. SIBO index options like SPX and XSP can help expand your investing strategies with cash settlement and potential tax advantages. If you're ready for a more dynamic game plan, head to betterwithoptions.com. SIBO, life is better with options. Your investments could be too. There are risks associated with SIBO company products. Review the disclosures and disclaimers at sibo.com/US_disclaimers.
¿Hablas español?
Sprichst du Deutsch?
Kan du norsk?
If you've heard that sound from Babbel before, I bet you do. Babbel is the science-backed language learning app that actually works. With quick 10-minute lessons handcrafted by over 200 language experts, Babbel gets you on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. With over 16 million subscriptions sold and a 20-day money-back guarantee, just start speaking another language with Babbel. Right now, up to 55% off your Babbel subscription at babbel.com/Spotify podcast. Spelled BABBEL.com/Spotify podcast. Rules and restrictions may apply.
From the field to the film room to the war room, we've got you covered every step of the way as the road to the draft starts right now. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Armchair Scouts. I'm your host, Shane Haff. You can follow me on Twitter at ShaneHaffNFL. I'm joined today by my co-host and fellow draft enthusiast, Dibes. Give him a follow on Twitter at Mr. Crockpot. Be sure to check out his podcast, Party on Broad. Dibes, how you doing tonight?
Doing well, man. For someone who covers this literally the day after the draft, all season, all offseason until now, it's a bit bittersweet. But I'm excited for these final two games, the final four. I am pretty solid on how I think this is going to play out. Let's talk about it.
All right. Also joined by his co-host on Party on Broad, it's Ryan. Give him a follow on Twitter at Philly Sports PSA. Ryan, how you doing tonight?
I'm kind of in the same boat as Dives. You know, the long season started so many weeks ago on week 0, and we are now down to our final 3 games. And it's it'll be like I said, a little sad, but we'll take like a week off. We'll clear it, and then we'll get right back into draft content. So
there's no weeks off.
No, I mean, you're right. There isn't, but I'll take
we'll throw a mock in there.
Oh, we will, but I'm just saying I'm going to take like a few days break.
It feels so weird to be through 2 rounds of the playoffs and have 2 rounds left. Obviously, first year with the expanded format, it feels really weird. And draft note, I wonder how this is going to affect guys like in draft preparations, having the extra games. I wonder how it's going to impact like guys coming out as rookies. Like, will guys that play deep into the playoff, will they struggle early as rookies? Will they not hit the rookie wall later in the year because they've played higher snap? It's going to be interesting to see how all of that kind of factors in.
Like to add on to that is, will NFL teams now maybe view them differently as they're in, more bigger games, and whether they step up or not, will that affect their draft stock that way?
I would imagine, as I'm a Senior Bowl sicko. I love the combine. I would imagine the top guys, this gives them more evidence to just bail on those 2 events and just wait for their pro days like usual. That's probably how I would see it play out.
Yeah, or at least not do drills. I mean, they'll probably show up for medicals and things. But
yeah, well that's kind of like the give and take. Is we'll probably see more play on the field during the college football playoff, but less involvement during the draft process.
Well, that stinks.
As long as they get official times for things, so I can still get a relative athletic scorecard, I'm good. But I'm going to be really unhappy.
That's all that matters.
Is that you, Howie? I don't know.
I need an RAS score. I have to have it. It's an addiction. But that's not actually what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the college football semifinal matchups. We got 2 matchups. One on Thursday night, one on Friday night, and then of course the national championship game is the fall, like a week in between, and then the following Monday. So let's start off with the Thursday night game. It is the 6th seed Penn State against the 7 seed Notre Dame. Notre Dame is favored by 1.5 points, coming off a 23-10 win over Georgia last week. Penn State, meanwhile, coming off of that 31-14 win over Boise State. This game feels like it feels like these two games are just going to be like polar opposites. This is the defensive slugfest game, right? And there's lots of health questions coming into this game. How healthy is Abdul Carter after he was injured in the Boise State game? How healthy is Jeremiah Love, who was injured in the Georgia game? And so a lot of health questions coming into this game, and that's kind of that attrition we're talking about setting in. But Dibes, is this going to be a defensive slugfest? Do you think these guys are going to be, obviously they're going to play if at all possible, but are they going to be able to play at a high level? What do you expect to see in this one?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that Notre Dame defense. The physicality they bring every single game is off the charts, but it starts and ends with which Drew Aller you're going to get in this one. There are flashes of Drew Aller where he looks like one of the top quarterbacks in the country, period. Then there are times where, not unlike Quinn Ewers, where he kind of is a little inconsistent. He'll make some overthrows. The offense is not necessarily in sync. You touched on Abdul Carter. That is a huge storyline to watch. Apparently, he's good to go. He is such a difference maker for that Penn State defense. But all eyes will be on Tyler Warren. The best matchup, bar none, in this one is Tyler Warren versus the Notre Dame defensive backfield. Notre Dame, their secondary with Xavier Watts is elite as it gets. They are excellent at takeaways. And you look at the Penn State receivers, not a lot of guys who can create separation, not a lot of playmakers. They're going to get locked up. It is all eyes on Tyler Warren and whether or not he can make a big difference. At the end of the day, I favor Notre Dame's physicality. I favor their defensive line led by Riley Mills, led by Howard Cross. They have better playmakers on offense like Jeremiah Love. And I think Riley Leonard will make more plays than Drew Aller will, especially with his legs, Riley Leonard. So give me Notre Dame 23, Penn State 21, and just a great game.
Speaking of Riley Leonard, great quote from Orange Bowl Media Day today. He said, quote, "I don't understand why I'm hard to tackle. Honestly, I don't even have very good juke moves. I'm very tall, not intimidating, but guys just miss. I don't really know why."
I think just his legs, he's just going to make one or two more plays than Aller, and that's the difference.
Yeah. All right. Ryan, I'll throw it over to you. Do you agree with Dibes on the outcome of the game, and what do you expect to see? How do you expect this one to play out?
Well, I agree in the fact that this is going to be a hard-fought game. It's going to be a very close game. Obviously the health of Abdul Carter is going to absolutely be paramount for this Penn State defense. Riley Leonard, again, isn't a guy that's going to throw 300 yards, but he's going to run for 100 and throw for 100. So you got to kind of be wary of that. And yeah, I mean, Abdul Carter certainly allows the rest of kind of the front seven to operate. So if he's, at all hampered, it's certainly going to show. And that's, with Love, depending on exactly how healthy he is. But again, the overall Notre Dame rush offense there with Leonard and Love. And, certainly don't forget that, Notre Dame has their own pretty good tight end there in Mitchell Evans, as well. So, it's funny that, the best receiving threats on both teams are their tight ends. And obviously Penn State doesn't have a lot else outside of Tyler Warren. It's certainly going to come down to kind of that X factor of what player is going to kind of come out of the woodwork. last time against Boise State, Amari Evans had that touchdown, and those two, that other really clutch catch there. So somebody like that is going to need to step up for Penn State. Dives hit on it perfectly. The Notre Dame defensive backfield is absolutely elite, and I really do think that this is going to come down to the wire. I actually think it's going to be a little bit of an upset. I think Notre Dame should be favored in this, by a little bit. I think they are technically a 1.5 favorite, but I do think this is going to be like a last-minute field goal to win it. Give me 24-21 Penn State.
All right. So let's flip over to the Friday game. Give us the final piece for the college football championship game on the 20th. It is number 8 Ohio State, favored by 5.5 points against number 5 Texas. Now, Ohio State is coming off of a 41-21 drubbing of Oregon, just total blowout. Texas is coming off a 39-31 double overtime win over Arizona State. This feels like the offensive shootout potentially to play counter to the defensive slugfest on Thursday night. Ryan, what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, this game's honestly a little harder for me to kind of predict, because you have Ohio State, who the last 2 games, 41-21 over Oregon, 42-17 over Tennessee. And most people, in fact, when we kind of did our show originally, everybody had picked Tennessee because Ohio State was coming off of that brutal loss to Michigan, 13-10. So it's kind of hard to know what Ohio State team we're going to get. Obviously, it looks like they've figured things out. But, this is kind of all going to come down to Will Howard. Obviously Will Howard has shown that he is capable and able to step up in big moments. And, I know that Dives is just waiting for him to stumble so he can, continue his hate on Will Howard. But, the other side of things is Texas has been in a lot of battles. They again, snuck by a tough, gritty Arizona State team in double overtime. They, were closer than they thought game against Clemson. Obviously, they lost previously to Georgia in overtime. So they've been in some really good battles lately. But I think that's kind of tested them. And Ohio State's kind of all over the place. And I think a little too much is being thrown at Ohio State. And personally, I'm not sold yet. Obviously, they just beat the previously undefeated team, but we've seen the ups and downs of Ohio State all year, and they're inconsistent as hell. While certainly Texas has had some stumbles themselves, I feel a little bit more confident on going into a game in Texas with their consistency lately, knowing that they're going to put in a fight, down to the wire. I'm going to lean Texas here in what is going to be an absolute shootout. I'm going to go 38-35 Texas. And again, a great close matchup. I think we're going to get 2 really great games here that we've been hoping for this entire college football playoff.
All right. Dives, do you agree with that? How do you think this game is going to play out?
Yeah, I disagree. I think from the jump, just like Ryan said, if it's going to be a shootout, Isaiah Bond, one of the mismatch weapons of college football, one of the best mismatch weapons, has to go off. Him and Quinn Ewers, they really need to have a efficient, mistake-free football game, and that's kind of the problem when it comes to Texas. I think all of their inconsistencies showed up in that Arizona State game. There are times when Quinn Ewers and the Texas offense looks electric. There are times when they just go into hibernation. I think a big part of this game will go into, the defensive backfield for Texas making plays, led by Jahdae Barron, one of the best nickel defenders in college football. So keep an eye on him. Keep an eye on Andrew Makuba. one of the more underrated safeties in football, period. But like Ryan alluded to, coming into this season, we've talked about the heavy hitters in this draft when it comes to Ohio State. The Jack Sawyers, the Caleb Downs for 2026, the Emeka Buka we've been talking about for years and years and years. But the real star of the show that has opened up everything for the Ohio State offense, without a doubt, has been the play of Will Howard, who I have not been a fan of, without a doubt, and Jeremiah Smith. From the jump, Jeremiah Smith was around 3 to 4 catches per game, would have big-time plays, half of those going for touchdowns, but they have been targeting him significantly during these college football playoffs, and no one's been able to match them. So for me, at the end of the day, I just want to see Jeremiah Smith versus that Notre Dame defensive backfield. I think that would be such a fun matchup. I don't see any way Texas keeps this close. I think Ohio State rolls, and I never would have guessed it, but I think that threat of Jeremiah Smith being such a home run hitter, even more so, has opened up everything for Travion Henderson and Quinshaw Judkins, who I thought they were more run pass than now they are more kind of that threat of the pass has dropped those safeties back just a little bit. And now we're seeing Travion and Quinshaw get and feast wherever they want. So for me, I'm going Ohio State wins 31, Texas 20.
All right. There's no doubt Ohio State's playing really good football right now, and Texas was supposed to have an easy path, and they've kind of scraped by so far. So really, it seems like whichever way it shakes out, though, it's setting up a clash of styles for a national championship game. It seems like so often you end up with like the offensive juggernaut, the defensive, the really good defensive team, and you get that clash of styles, and it definitely seems that's what we're headed for this year again. And whichever way it ends up falling, we'll be here next week to break it all down for you guys, the college football national championship game. And then we'll get into all the draft scouting and things, all our positional rankings and mock drafts that'll carry us through to the draft. So this show doesn't end when the college season does. We are just getting started. We'll start getting into longer shows, running down our top 5 and 10 at each position. It'll be a lot of fun. But before we get out of here, I'll throw it to you guys. Any final thoughts that you want to give? I know you guys have been doing draft stuff. You guys get started on that a lot more during the season than I do. So any of that content you want to plug, feel free to do that. Ryan, I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah, listen, you can just kind of check out everything that we have done. Dibes, I mean, this is the hardest working man in show business. He puts out more shorts and videos than I even know or have the time to watch. But check out Party on Broad on YouTube. Check out all the amazing stuff that he's done. I'm in it a little bit. But you know, stay for the information, stay for the pretty faces, and do yourself a favor, and then obviously make sure you are locked in to the Eagles Pin Pull Network, especially if you're a draft guy. If you're into the birds, we have more coverage than you could possibly know what to do with. So more shows, than we have days of the week. So check us out, follow us everywhere where you can, and make sure you're supporting these guys as well on X.
All right. Dibes, same to you. Plug your stuff, man. I know you got a lot of stuff going on.
I have so much content in the works. I mean, I'm talking 200 easy graphics of guys to go. We've been doing this all year, so make sure you check us out. But I think you can lock in edge and tight end into the top 3 for the Eagles picks. It is a historic class for the edge and tight end positions. Really fun group. And then I'm going to throw in defensive tackle in that mix as well. I think defensive tackle is a low-key need for the Birds.
Yep.
And, I've been impressed with Moro Ojomo, but at the end of the day, it's not as a strong unit compared to edge and tight end, but I think those are heavily the top three I've been mocking to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. Well, there you have it, everybody. Be sure you're following these guys. Check out Party on Broad. You can search that out on YouTube and go check out some of their shows where they've done a lot of draft work already. But thank you for joining us for this episode of the Armchair Scouts. If you enjoy the show, be sure you hit the subscribe button so you get all the great shows on the Eagles Pinpull Network feed. You can check us out on Twitter. I am at Shane Half NFL. Dives is at Mr. Crockpot. Ryan is at Philly Sports PSA. And we will catch you guys next week for another episode of the Armchair Scouts.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.